Thoughts project. This is my first live stream. I don't expect anybody to show up. I don't have a whole lot of subscribers, but first, right off the bat, I do want to say thank you if you show up after the fact and watch this video. I'll try to make it watchable like a video, essentially. Thank you to the people who have subscribed. We're at around 160 something subscribers right now, and it's in the first couple months, so not too bad. I haven't been pushing, advertisement on this channel or anything like that. So I do appreciate everybody being here and watching this, if you're watching this after the fact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by kind of talking about the purpose of this channel, what I'm here to do, and we'll get into some of that stuff. And I'll talk about some of the videos that I've done previously already on the channel. And we'll get into that as well. So maybe drill down into some of those concepts a little bit here. So let me get my chat phone set up, and we'll get the secondary phone set up here. As I will do in future lives, I have a chat phone, and I have another phone that I'll be able to use it for research. Why would I do that? It goes with the premise, the whole premise of this channel, okay, is to think for yourself, to look into things for yourself. That's one of the big themes here, Now, the main reason I started this is just to have an outlet as well. A place where I could, kind of talk about certain things, talk about all kinds of certain things. Mostly serious stuff, but you never know where we're going to go with this. We could go, we could be talking about UFOs next week, we could be talking about, we've talked about flock cameras, we've talked about all kinds of things having to do with freedom, having to do with where our country's going here in America, where I'm at, but also where the future's going for the whole world. And so I think it's all, these are things that we're chewing on, right, as a people. And so I want to get into those things, and we're going to be able to talk about all of those things unrestricted on this channel. And so that's why I'm here. That's why I started this particular channel, to do things like that, to talk about anything and everything. And feel free, as time goes on, to suggest something, suggest anything you want, and maybe we'll explore that topic. So I want to do so in a way that encourages people to A, think for themselves, B, that I learn something, because I learn more from doing YouTube than probably the YouTube world learns from me, ultimately, right? I'd like to think that I bring something to the table. I'd like to do that. In a lot of my videos, I've brought research to the table, or at least, articles and things like that, and source material, so that we could consider the things that we're talking about. Hi, Jody. I saw that you stopped in. And so the things that we're doing here is going to be multifaceted, okay? So a lot of times I may just get on here and just talk about something I was thinking about that day. And it's going to be a mix of between that and then going into maybe crystallizing things a little bit more, maybe going into depth. Maybe I'll do 2, 3, 4 videos on the same thing, But you want to talk about threats to freedom. You want to talk about, the flock cameras, which we've done 2 videos so far on the flock cameras. If you want to talk about anything, flat earth, I don't know. I'll even entertain things like that. I have an opinion on those things. I might not agree with everybody, right? And that's the great thing about it. So when people come to Real Thoughts Project, I want you to be able to leave your comment. You don't have to agree with me. I would rather, you just be honest and go ahead and leave the comment on your thoughts if you have real thoughts too. The reason I named the channel Real Thoughts Project to begin with is because I'm a real person with real thoughts. And I assume you are too. But too much nowadays we see people just parroting what they see elsewhere in the world. What they hear from this person, what they hear from that person. Okay? And this can be wild. You know, what can happen from this is it's like a mockingbird system. It's I hear this over here and I'm going to go repeat it over there. And this is not, you know, it's caused a lot of problems in our countries, multiple different countries, you know, where people are fighting each other. People are fighting for the best politician. You know, who's the best liar? Who's the best person? Who's you know, not representing us very well. Okay, on the left, oh, the person on the left that doesn't really represent the people that got them elected very well, or the person on the right that doesn't really represent the people that got them elected very well. All right, and then the people end up arguing over that instead of let's sit back and let's think about what we can do as individuals in our community, you know, and things like that. The things that we can really have an impact on in our life is more important, right? But we're going to look at the bigger picture things here. We're going to look at, you know, like I said, we might talk about UFOs. I've spoken about that on another channel where we talked about the drones over New Jersey. Does anybody remember the drones? What happened with that? I don't think we ever got a very clear answer on what that was. And welcome into everybody that's showing up. I'll catch up with the chat in a minute, but I see you all and I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. This is the first live stream. So those drones over New Jersey, you know, we talked about them on my other channel before this one existed. I looked at some possible answers, right? We found out that there are many different commercial drones that are going to be used as taxis in the future. They're trying to get certification, so they're having to practice and test. Could be that. I found military applications that could also fit the bill of what we were told people were seeing. And then, of course, as a case study for this whole channel and everything we do, all of those things, you know, the things that were being reported, not all of those things were true. So there were also false reports, people making things up. And you got to understand, this is always going to happen. Now, I'm not an expert on this. I'm not military. I'm not, you know, intelligence or anything like that. Okay. I don't have, but I have studied the way psyops work over the years. Hi, Desert Living. Hi, Susan. Hi, Bulldogs. Jody, I saw you. A couple other ones in here. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you. So I've studied this because I've seen these lies play out time and time again. I'm in my mid-30s now, so I'm not as old as some people, right? I haven't seen as much, and I'm always willing to listen. That's one thing that we have to do, is we have to listen to other people, especially people who have a lot of experience, more experience in fields that we don't. But that's how I learn a lot of the things I learn, and I found that when making YouTube videos about things, I end up learning more from either my commenters, people that I meet out there who have things to say, right? Point me in different directions. I go down on these different vectors of research, and I learn a lot more than I knew to begin with. So like I said, I'd like to bring stuff to the table as much as possible, food for thought. If I can get one person to think for themselves, to think, hey, I need to think for myself, instead of listening to this news article, this political pundit, this big YouTube channel over here, right, and just running with it, then I've done my job on this channel. There's a reason I specifically purpose-built this channel for all of these things. And that's why we'll talk about all kinds of things here in the future. You know, God willing, as long as I'm alive, as long as we're here and are able to bring videos, because everything is connected. I'm one of those guys, and I believe everything is connected. A lot of people don't like to talk about politics. Unfortunately, it is connected to money, to the financial system. The financial system is connected to, you know, of course, business, of course, also governments and operations around the world. All of these things are interconnected in a way, and they cannot be unconnected. But we can look at each individual thing, but we can also do that with a broader picture of what is going on. That's what's good about live. People can bring their thoughts and experience. Yes, exactly. After your own research, come to your own conclusions. Exactly. And that means with me too. I'll encourage you always, when you're watching my channel, if you're here, first of all, I appreciate you being here. Second of all, don't just listen and believe what it is that I say. If I give you source material, which I will try to do as much as I can, of course, sometimes I'm just going to talk about what I feel like. You know, that's kind of one of the reasons I started this channel. I didn't feel like just rambling about certain things on my other platforms. This is specifically purpose-built for this mission. So occasionally I will just talk about those things because guess what? They're also connected. But I appreciate all of you who have subscribed, all the subscribers here. Like I said, we got about 160 something subscribers first couple months. I feel like it's not too bad. And but it's all you. It's all you guys. I can't do any of this without you all. And I read all the comments. Now I've had a couple videos that had like 100 comments on them. I wasn't able to respond to every single one yet. I will do my best to go back and do that. But I see them as they come in. I see them. If you're commenting, I see it. And I appreciate it. Because it's input on a bigger conversation, a more important conversation I think we all need to be having. I don't have any specific credentials other than the fact that I'm a very curious individual. I would say that I have autodidactic tendencies, but I feel like that would make me sound smart. I don't think I'm very intelligent in that way. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm just very curious, and I'd love to ask questions. And a lot of times here, we're just going to be asking questions. Now, talking about those drones. On my other channel, Driving Daily, we did a little bit of research. We found that there are these eVTOLs that are very big. They're going to be used for taxis. And there's a possibility that a lot of this had to do with testing for those companies. They don't want to talk about it because they have to get certification. They had to get approval, and that was going on at that time to safely travel and transit over places like Los Angeles, like New York, places that it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to get to where you're going. You get an eVTOL, give $100, $200, and you can get there in no time. Just go right over. But there's a lot of safety procedures and things like that. A lot of government regulations, as with everything else. So basically flying cars, really, that's what they are. And then another thing that we found in another video, I shared this, was a company. I'm not going to give it right now. I'm not going to give the information, but maybe we'll get into it on a video, an actual video, and we'll look back at it. And I'll actually look back and see the progress this company's made. But it was a small company that was just started, and they then got government contracts, got a lot bigger. And these things fold up. They're drones that fold up, and they can fly. They can lift up vertically. Vertical lift and takeoff, VTOLs is what they call them. And we found that, and that fit the bill to almost all of the sightings on the New Jersey sightings and elsewhere. It wasn't just New Jersey, it was everywhere. But like I said, news happens, sensationalism. A lot of this stuff got blown out of proportion. You had senators talking about, I don't know if it was a senator, but you had politicians talking about, this is Iran, this is off the coast, this, that, and the other. If it had been Iran off the coast, I think we'd have known about it eventually, right? I think it would have been dealt with. I don't think it was. But why did he say that? Why do people sensationalize? Why do people come out with this stuff, right? Who told him to say that? Where did he get his information? Did he know it was bad information? Was it bad information? Was it Iran? I don't think so. Considering what happened just a couple months back over there, from what we're told. So all of these things kind of lead me to, the same things. We're questioning everything. There's a lot of things we don't know. And I'm seeing you, Susan. I saw that 25 years in the media. You know how the news is created and promoted? That's what I've been studying it, but not from the perspective of the media. I don't work in the media, of course, I never have. A lot of garbage information, absolutely. I'm reading your texts as they come through. So a lot of what we've done so far, I've done a lot of videos. Well, maybe 15 videos? I don't know. I really don't know. The first 10 videos that I did they weren't all in order or whatever, but the idea was this. I did a video on getting started, right? Because there's so many things about getting in the way. getting away. Most people, I don't want to start now because it's not a good time. I don't want to do this, whatever. Government could have told the truth, but instead they hid lies about the car company. That's possible with the EV tolls and things like that. It's totally possible because guess what? And by the way, Bulldogs, we're talking about the drones again with that, I think. Private company, corporations, big corporations. By the way, I looked up the stock, because I was like, man, I may buy some stock in these companies. Yeah. I'll probably go back and cover those because those companies, what I was finding out about them was very interesting. It was a lot of stuff that people are not talking about. I live in rural, country out here in the middle of nowhere pretty much. And a lot of people, they don't know, have never heard of it. And even people in the city have never heard of a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle that's going to taxi people from one side of the city to the other. But we found the request for certifications and the requirements for government testing. And that's what they were doing. Those papers were filed around that same time we were hearing the sightings of the drone. So multiple things can be true. Multiple things can be true at the same time. Live out in the desert, see it all the time, right? And that's what I want to kind of get across. I want to, and I'm going to be repetitive sometimes with that because it's something that I've seen. It's a pattern that I've seen. There was a particular time when I was a child, when I was growing up, and we'll get back into the rest of this stuff in a minute, but I just want to say this. I thought, every adult had it figured out. I mean, at a certain point as a child, you feel like, well, the adults have it figured out. They know what's going on. And then there was a time when I realized they don't. Not all of them. And nobody has all of it figured out, right? And when I realized that, I was like, okay, interesting. You have to take it in consideration as well when you're looking at these bigger YouTube channels. When you're looking at people on the news who are just getting their talking points from somebody else. They're not thinking for themselves. They're just kind of like a mockingbird. And they're just talking other people, right? They're not talking about their own thoughts, not their real thoughts. Name for the channel, real thoughts, right? Everybody should have their own. Whether they're right or wrong doesn't matter. Listen, we always want to try to be correct. Car drone accidents in the sky, yes, it would be crazy, and that's why they need a lot of work for the certification for safety, as you can imagine. Now, from what I understand, they have a lot of not to get too down in the weeds on that, but I'm interested in that stuff. I would love to be able to fly a flying car. It seems like most of it's going to be mostly automated, kind of like autopilot. There'll probably be people in there managing it at first, from the research that I did on it. But they do seem to have backup systems on backup systems on backup systems. Plummeted to the earth, killed people, set farmers field alight. Yes, it's possible, especially because they're going to be using batteries. Most of these are electric vehicles. They're electric vehicles. You have batteries just like in electric cars, and we know the electric car batteries, when they catch fire, it is an issue. I did a video on that on Driving Daily as well. I went deep into so they once they catch fire, it's really hard to put them out. They're very hot. Burn very hot, and they keep going and going and going. Okay, and there's a lot of energy in those batteries. Whenever you have energy, you've got power, and you have this potential for bad things to happen, of course. So this could happen. Hello, Kendra. How you doing? Welcome in. This could happen with the EVTOLs, and that's true. So that's what they're looking into with the certification and everything like that. And are they going to let everybody drive them? Probably not, because with the driverless cars being pushed so hard, and AI and FSD and all this stuff, I think they're going away from having people pilot their own vehicles, so they're going to try to do that. Now, if you're wealthy enough and you have enough open land, you're probably going to be able to get one. I mean, you could probably buy one of these things now and operate it on your land. But for the rest of everybody, most people, I don't see that being the case. But we could dive into that. I could dive into a few videos on that. I could look back up some old articles and then bring up some new ones and see where we've gone from where I was looking at that before over there. And I'd like to do that. But yes, my first video was about starting, and this is for the YouTube people, but it's also for everybody. It really was for everybody, because a lot of times this ties into everything. All of it's going to tie into everything, guys. All of it. The thing that people say when they want to start a business, or they want to start working out, or they want to start doing this or that, whatever it is, start a YouTube channel, whatever it is. They say, well, I'll start when, right? And it's never going to be a good time. It's never going to be a good time to have children, right? Of course, because all of the stuff. So if you think that you're going to wait for a good time, you'll never have children. It's never going to be a good time to, do this, do that, whatever. Start a YouTube channel, whatever. Right? If you start in the bad times, you'll do pretty well if you can survive it. And Desert Living, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. And yes, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for being on the very first live here on Real Thoughts Project. People are financing sandwiches. It's a rich person's toy. Exactly. And they know this. These people aren't stupid. They've got the data. They know where everybody's at, right? They can generally look essentially in everybody's bank account without looking exactly into everybody's bank accounts. Thank you, Desert Living. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. And of course, Thanksgiving and everything like that. We'll catch up soon. But they know that people can't afford these flying cars. They know that people might not be able to afford their own car. Talking about a 15-year car loan, which I think that may have been fake news, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure. But they are talking about a 50-year mortgage. So if you're talking about a 50-year mortgage, you know you're not looking for people to really, truly own anything here in the future, if you think that's what's going to come to. And that's the type of things they're doing. So it's like that first video, I was basically saying, the best thing to do is just not be a perfectionist, probably just go ahead and start, because it's always going to be a bad time. People think it's bad times now. If you look back in history, if you're a student of history, you look back, you'll find some bad times. You'll find some real bad times. And it makes now, especially in America, look pretty good. You know what I mean? It makes it look actually very nice comparatively. There's times you had dictators that were, if you weren't the right type of people, you know what I mean? Life was cheap. And so it could be worse. And so now if you're going to start something, if you want to do something, consider it, right? We live in better times than a lot of people say, but worse times than a lot of people think. Hi, Kira Steinbach. I see you there. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all you guys being here on the live. Almost didn't do this today, but I felt like it was a good time to go ahead and break the ice on the live streams on this channel. So I've been live streaming a lot on the other one, but this one is a purpose-built channel, and it has a purpose. I mean, I'm here for a reason, and it's a project, right? Second reason, the Real Thoughts is the name. It's because AI is becoming this huge thing, and it's embedding itself into every aspect of people's lives. People are asking AI what to do, what to think. And I see an issue with that. I hope people see an issue with that. Are your thoughts your own? Are you coming to your conclusions through logic or through intuition or through whatever else, right? Or are we being told what to say, what to think, how to analyze these situations through AI algorithms? And this goes deep, because it could be indirect. Even for people like me, I don't interact with AI. I just don't. ChatGPT, Grok, none of that stuff. I don't ask questions, whatever. I'm not saying I never will. I just don't. Up until now, I haven't seen the need to. I feel, and from that perspective, I feel like it's been very quick. The adoption out in the world has been so quick. It feels like it's only been like a year or two. And now everybody I talk to is using it. A dedicated AI core in the Intel processor. Well, even this phone has a AI assistant. I don't use it. I'm sure it's listening to me though. And the battery, you can't take it out. That's another thing. I miss the phones where you could take the battery out. You can't take the battery out of these phones. So it's always listening. Have you ever had a conversation and then 5 minutes later, a commercial advertising the thing that you were talking about comes on the TV or comes on YouTube? These things, it works, and it works fast, and it listens to everything. And we give it permissions without even really knowing it. When we open applications, when we sign whatever, consent forms, things like that, and we don't know it, it's all the fine print. It's all in that fine print. So this leads me to, question everything. Is someone's opinion coming from AI? Is it coming from, and as I was trying to say, because I don't question AI. I don't ask it questions specifically. I don't try to get it to make titles or video ideas for me, which I think is an edge, by the way. And I think guys in the future, just if you want to be different, if you want to have the edge, I believe not using AI is going to give you something special, because it's something that we've always had and people are losing because they're using AI. So I don't know that AI is going to give anybody the edge. Probably companies, definitely big companies and corporations, because they're being able to eliminate employees. They're being able to do calculations on the fly, very fast stuff, all kinds of aggregated information. And everything's wireless. Washing machine, dishwasher, yes, absolutely. My phone keeps trying to get me to use AI for everything, captions, kind of writing summaries, everything. What a great way to train people to be able to think, not to be able to think at all, or even on their own version, or creative, yes, absolutely. And the interesting thing is when technology was sold to us, am I wrong? I would love to hear from you guys in chat. Let me know. It was sold, you're not going to have, technology is going to do all the hard work, and you will be able to be the artist. You will be able to be the philosopher. You will be able to do the music and the higher things of life, right? This was, if I'm remembering correctly, this is how it was all sold. It's the exact opposite. I'm still running around doing DoorDash in a car sometimes, right? Manual labor, bottom of the barrel. I know guys still building houses, building cars, working on cars, wrenching, doing doing the plumbing, doing the carpentry, right? It's all manual labor. It's fine. They're fine things to do. Trades are wonderful, and an art form. But AI is doing what? Making the music, doing the philosophy, doing the higher thinking. It's the exact opposite of what we've been told. So why would we believe anything else that these people tell us about the technology? Self-driving cars is going to be safer. Okay, that's what they say. Or the car's just not going to go anywhere it's not programmed to go. You're not allowed to do anything you're not programmed to do, digital ID. And we've done videos on digital ID on this channel. I did a video, and then now I've mentioned it several times because, like I said, guys, this all ties in. This all ties in. And so that's where I'm at. I did a video on safe spaces. It was a generalized idea, a concept of safe spaces, right? That people need safe spaces where they're not contested on their identity or their ideas or whatever, right? And I said that I think that is a terrible idea in that video. And what I mean by that is, if you have an idea, if you have a unique identity, if you have a unique way of looking at the world, okay, that's great. It is strengthened, and you are strengthened as a person or individual by adversity. We have to have that. If I say something and I'm dead wrong, you guys have got to call me out. I'm not trying to be dead wrong, just maybe. My takes are kind of one-off sometimes, and they're going to be. Might be something you've never heard before. I didn't hear anybody else. I did a video on Driving Daily when Teslas were being vandalized on the ash conformity experiments. I looked those up. I found out that it turns out I was simultaneously looking at that when this was happening. And I said, this is kind of similar. Conformity. There are people out there doing things, they don't even know what they're doing. They're just doing it because they see other people doing it. And it's not that other people are actually even really doing it. It's because they see it on the internet, which represents the lion's share of what they actually see when they look at the world. And they look at the world through a lens Like that's what everybody's doing, and it's not. Which is why I made another video saying that the internet wants us all divided. What did I mean by that? Well, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's keying Teslas. Everybody's doing this. No, they're not. Not really. But if you think that and you're radical enough in your mind and you're down that rabbit hole far enough and you hate Elon Musk for whatever reason, and you see these people on TV, on social media, left and right, keying cars, you may become a useful idiot, right? And that's how it works. Most people are not going around doing that. But some people were, enough on video on the internet to represent, say, 90% of what some person that's in an information bubble sees. Same on the other side. And this is where I get heat because I'm fairly conservative, if you want to call it that. I don't even like these terms anymore. Conserve what? For me, conserve, I like the Republic. I like the American system to a degree. I like it. And we're going to talk about why in the future. But even on the conservative side, you have people that no matter what, if Donald Trump says it, they're going for it. They're going with it. And I supported Donald Trump. I thought that he was a better candidate. Not to bring politics in it, but everything is connected. Look at the other candidate we had. But here's the thing. That guy's connected in ways we don't know as well. All these guys, they got games going on, and we don't know. We're just not on the inside. You can't blindly follow a man, and you can't blindly follow a politician, which is why in my last video, I opened up by saying, politicians are not our heroes. They're not coming to save us. Nobody is coming to save us. They've got deals going on with one another, possibly with corporations, right? We see it with the EVTOLs and the VTOLs, these different flying machines that are coming out that people don't even know about. People do not even know about. I didn't know about it. When the drones happened, I guess you could say following the herd because I was looking at the drone situation, but I was like, how can I look at this in a different way? Well, how can I look at this? What is the source material? What is the closest thing to a source information that I can find? Well, let's look at the other things that are out there flying. And so I did that. And it took me a while to come up with some of this stuff. And I had friends that helped me come up to find some of the companies that I talked about that were doing maybe more military type stuff. And because of that, we kind of dialed it in and said, okay, some of this is totally possible. And it's totally possibly a combination of all of these things put together because many things can be true at once. Tough subjects, immigration. Many things can be true at once. People's lives are definitely being played with in our country right now. But guess what? If they hadn't been let in the country to be illegal, these things wouldn't be going on. Democrats knew that. Republicans knew it. Everybody knew it. It was allowed to happen on purpose. It had to be. And so yes, now you see this heavy-handed thing, this response going on. A lot of people are complaining about it, and it's also not pretty to see, even if you're for it. Because it's a problem that the country's trying to solve that was caused by an insane lapse, like you would never see in another country, of the security of the borders. So, once again, politicians setting humans up, because these people are people, and always look at people as individual, as a person. Even politicians, as weird as that sounds, putting Wi-Fi into standard household goods was a stepping stone to AI. Absolutely, Susan. They sneak it in. Guess what else is a stepping stone? Talk about the immigration problem. Because many of us said, okay, it doesn't make sense to have so many people immigrating so fast in an illegal fashion when you don't know who they are. You say it's a country of immigrants. Yes, but people came here and became American. Now, no big deal. No matter how you feel about that, whatever side of the aisle, guess what? We need more surveillance, they say, for this problem. Okay. Leads me into the flock cameras. I've done 2 videos on flock cameras. They are everywhere. I drove past 3 flock cameras on the way here today. They're all over the place. If somebody was stalking me, they would know where I was going today, every step of the way. I feel that way also about my wife and children. If somebody is looking to get after me or get after my wife or children or whatever, and they have access, which apparently is fairly easy to do, to these flock camera systems, they can track people all through my state. They're everywhere. I'm in North Carolina. They are absolutely everywhere. When those drones happen, we told many people what they were. They're called lunatics. I'll read that in a second. We were called lunatics for suggesting they were personal vehicles. Many people want to believe it's aliens. Yeah, no, and it's never the aliens, guys. It's never the aliens. Not to blow my cover on when we do talk about the UFOs. UFOs go back a long time. And as far as government's concerned, as far as systems of control, as far as the narratives, pushing the narratives, certain narratives at certain times, they'll bring out that novelty of the UFOs and the gray aliens and all these things. They'll bring that out whenever it's necessary to bring a novel item into the consciousness of people so that they can entertain these ideas. It does a certain thing. It does multiple things, actually. And it has an end game to it. Susan's in Australia. I'm up here in North Carolina and on the East Coast. If they say that there's an alien invasion, well, I guess our government better cooperate with Australia and they better become one very fast, right? I guess we can't have borders anymore because it's just us versus the aliens. There's a lot of ways to look at this thing. There's a lot of things and angles that the UFO, the alien thing can take. We'll get into that. California, all right. Thank you for checking in. So, yes, the AI is creeping into everything. The wireless, like you said, Project Bluebeam, absolutely. And more. One of the 5 eyes, yep. So, yes, wireless everything is just creating an apparatus for this AI to basically infiltrate it all. And as we talk to AI, I say we lightly because I don't talk to AI, but I am talking right now and AI is probably listening. Crazy thing is, even if my phone wasn't listening, I'm making a video. You guys are listening to it. Maybe in your house, maybe in your car. AI around you is listening. And it's hearing me. It goes deep. While the flock cameras are watching right now. Everywhere I go. We might go film some flock cameras. I'm going to show you guys. I went to a parking lot the other day. There was about 5 in one parking lot. Now, they could have been owned, or not owned, but like leased. Different people can get access to these flock cameras. You can get them to come set one up, things like that. Maybe by the businesses. It was a bad side of town in the city near me. So possibly the businesses have access, but here's the thing about it. All of those cameras can be hacked. And I dropped a link in my community post, probably last week sometime. It was a video that was about 40 minutes long where these guys did just that. I make sure not to have any of these things in our home, faucets that measure things out for you. Oh my goodness, our kids would have no idea how to do anything on their own. Yes, if we use that stuff, absolutely. AI is probably listening. Absolutely. We're on a list, been on a list, dude. Probably been on a list. And I used to be very anonymous as a person. And when I started my other YouTube channels and stuff, I stayed, it was like a faceless channels and stuff like that. I was just doing like videos because I wanted to share beautiful things that I was seeing. And eventually I was like, you know what? I might as well just get on there. More people share on Facebook than what I'm sharing on YouTube right now. You have people yelling at ICE agents. You have people right now in my city, my town, cities near me, talking about how they're going to obstruct ICE agents right now on Facebook, how they're going to do it, how they have done it. Well, whether you agree with that or not, it's just not a smart idea, right? Dumbest revolutionaries ever, guys. It all seems designed just to teach us never to think. We won't know how to figure things out. No critical thinking, no idea how to struggle. our way through figuring things out is too much. Absolutely, Kendra. Absolutely. So, and that's the thing, thinking for yourself, Real Thoughts. Real Thoughts Project. Guys, I'm not this smart. It's just that basic. It's just that basic. And that's why I was like, dude, I'm going to make the channel and call it Real Thoughts. Because nobody's having them. A lot of you are. I see a lot of guys in the comments, and some of you guys follow me on my other channel, and you're in the stream sometimes, and you guys have very intelligent. Susan is doing a lot of things, maybe not off the grid, but more off the grid than many of us. And that's very smart. And it takes work. She'll tell you it takes a lot of work. See, different PDs have different regs on accessing flock. Some PDs can check flock anything. For anything and nothing. 20-year-old kid with a badge gun. Yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately. That's so I did Cope Dog. If I don't know if you've been on the channel or not, one of my videos was a police officer who was stalking his ex, stalked his ex 200 and something times, and her new boyfriend or whatever, using the flock cameras. They caught him. He admitted to it. And then the other one was a officer. He was an older individual. He wasn't a 20-year-old. He was an officer, and he basically falsely accused a woman of stealing, using the flock cameras as evidence. He was very happy about it. I mean, there's a video about it. You can see where he did that and everything. But we've been following this. Not an indictment of all police. I'm just saying. And the thing about it is you, like I said, you can hack it. And now I'm looking at certain other information where people are finding out that some of the police passwords and logins are being stolen. So they can be used behind their back. They don't even have good security on these cameras. And that's the problem. It's one of the big problems. Any agency can get it. Any individual who has nefarious intentions and has the capability can get access to the flock cameras and can be watching you, watching your family or your kids, 16-year-old, 17-year-old out there driving, stalking people. So what that police officer was doing is using it to stalk people. I'm all for the police, but there's got to be a limit. There's got to be a limit, and you have to have a warrant or something. I mean, to get access, but they don't. Many times they don't, they just have access as needed. Or they can say, okay, this is why I'm accessing this. But it's not like a legitimate reason. They're just making something up, and it works, it flies, unless you have an auditor come in. And even with the auditor, there's still like a legitimate reason, and they would have to look closer to see what was actually being looked at and what was actually being tracked and traced. We'll end up being like the people in the children's animated WALL-E. Yes, WALL-E's a documentary 20 years in the future. Best scenario plan for Soylent Green. Yeah. And I'm young. I'm kind of young, but I remember I have watched Soylent Green. Absolutely. Now, depending on how the food scarcity thing goes and what they do with the farms and all this, depends on how we end up there. No authorization is, the technology is outpacing the regulations. It should be throttling. Absolutely. You're correct. That's kind of what we have going on right now. And tech companies know this. And we've seen cases of this. We've seen cases of this time and time again, where tech companies have gone ahead and be above and beyond what they can do. Like, what the government can actually keep up with. Now, we've seen it with crypto in a good way in some ways. And then in a bad way, obviously, when people want to get nefarious with crypto. But if you look at Bitcoin, it took the government a long time to regulate exchanges, to regulate Bitcoin and then cryptos, different individual ones, what's a security, what's not. Meanwhile, all kinds of other things are happening. And so I have mixed feelings on Bitcoin and crypto. I think it could be a good thing. And then B, could just be leading into another different system. So they're going to use some kind of digital currency eventually to control us at some point anyway. Film took place in 2022, not too far off. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I would say Soylent Green, give it maybe it was a little off by a few years. Who knows? Who knows? But it is possible. Cash is king. Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people are not using cash, Susan. Most people, I believe Bulldog said it, most people are using credit to buy sandwiches. In the Army, we always lived with, it's easier to beg for forgiveness than beg for permission. I think they go with that same ethos, and they probably do. The difference is the outcome is much more profound in this case, right? When we're talking about AI systems aggregate information on everybody and can blackmail you, if they can blackmail you, they can do it to me, everybody in this chat, everybody in our government, implications are pretty crazy. They know what you're searching for on your phone, and they know who you've texted, and they know where you've been, and they know what you've bought, and they know what you've done because they're listening all the time. If you have any leaks in your security, in your systems, if you're in your behavior, they can find it. Now, to most of us, we're nobodies. Doesn't matter. Politician, somebody who has access to changing actual policies in the government that can affect maybe big tech companies, it's a different situation. So who's in control of the AI? It's all questions, man. And I'm going to continue asking these questions. I'm not going to try to fly close to the sun or anything like that. I think these are general questions that everybody should be asking. And I'm asking because I would love to hear from people. It seems I have some very intelligent people in this chat right now. I would venture a guess I'm like the dumbest person in the room. And I like that. I don't want to be the dumbest person in the room necessarily, but technically speaking, as long as everybody has decent intentions, it's good for me because I can learn a lot from all of you. So I appreciate you being here. I guess it takes a village to raise an idiot. But if we're allowed to, I would love to get into these things in the future on the channel. And another thing, we haven't had time. There's so much. I could do a video like every day. I'm the smartest guy in the car. That's right. That's right. Hear that? I think they know how to correct your thinking. If you get too squirrely, they try to change your trajectory through your feed. Maybe. Yes. No. It's hard for me to articulate this. In my social media mind control video, so I'll do the best I can. In my social media mind control video, I tried to touch on what you're saying because I think you're right. One viral video can change everybody's opinion on something. I haven't gotten into this yet, but we will. There's a whole history behind it. Memes. The memes that are passed along, things are passed along, guys. And one of those things is memes. I think those things are very powerful because, see, you got a picture, say you got a picture of Donald Trump as a baby, right? Well, how can you take anything that guy says seriously if that's your image? So you pass that along. Same thing with Biden, right? You have a meme, a picture of Biden stumbling down those airplane steps 15 times in a row, right? Like whatever. How can you take anything that guy says seriously if that's your image, right? So, but this is a person. Now, he might have had mental decline going on, but I have to take some of what he said seriously. He was smart enough to stay in government, not have a real job, and become wealthy over what? It was like 40 years, 45 years, whatever, how long time? Longer than I've been alive. He knew something. He knew how to do something. Or he had some people working for him. But there's stuff that I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and just discredit it like, oh, the guy's just an idiot. Maybe moral decline, or yeah, there it is, moral decline. Maybe cognitive and moral decline in most of these cases, but not an idiot. Same thing with Trump. I heard people say, well, he's a moron. Maybe easily manipulated. Maybe he has an ego that you can play into. Everybody's got a weakness. I don't know if foolish or stupid. I don't know, maybe foolish, but I don't know if stupid is the case with any of these people because they've been managing to do things that I'm not doing. I'm not trying to do those things, granted, and most of the people here probably wouldn't. You know, somebody said something about running for office the other day. No, it's not, I wouldn't, you know, I don't want that kind of power or whatever. But there's people that do. I have to question right off the bat when you do. I'm like, okay, why do you want the power? Anybody. I'm an equal opportunity individual with this, right? Like, I don't get into tribes politically. Technically, I'm an independent if you look me up. You know what I mean? But if you get into, like, when it gets to politics, I kind of realize that's why I try to want to focus on things that we can deal with. You ask questions and you don't take everything for granted. That's not dumb. Okay, and back to what Co-op Dog was saying. The algorithm is tailored towards you on YouTube, for example, Facebook, whatever. What's to say they're not just going to bombard you with certain things? And they can do it in a sneaky way. They can send you, I like knives, right? So they know that. They can send me knife videos, right? Until they send me knife videos from a knife guy that's a little bit radicalized the way they want me to be radicalized. Now I'm listening to this knife guy because he has cool knives. He builds knives or something. And now I'm listening to this guy. And then what pops into my suggested feed from that guy is another guy, maybe another guy, whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? And now I'm watching that. And now, okay, I'm thinking a little more along those lines. It's potentially mind control. And that's why I don't know. I don't hear anybody else talking about social media. There's certain phrases that I say over and over again. Social media mind control, AI aggregated information on everybody. But this is what I've seen. This is what I have seen to come to pass. There's things I can't talk about. It's not that I can't talk about. Actually can't on YouTube. But there's things that I've seen. And there is harder mind control, forms of mind control, right? Things I've seen in my personal life that have happened, that have been in the news, people have seen, but I can't talk about it because that there's certain things you can't mention. We'll figure out a way to do it later. But I've seen people do things who I have met, that I didn't really know, but who I've met, and it doesn't make any sense why they would do those things. No sense whatsoever. How did that come to pass? I don't know. Was it the algorithm? Was it voice to skull or something like that? Was it some other thing? I don't know. But it happened. Okay. Made the news, made national news, shut down investigations on entire subject matter that we can't talk about. I'm just telling you guys, it's crazy stuff out there. I was so disillusioned after working for the media organization. I bet. Yeah, it's so funny. It makes me laugh. Not really. Funny when it comes down to it. When my husband and I talk about something, then all of a sudden the videos pop commercials for that. Yes, exactly. And so if they can do that for commercials, if they think that you're kind of going in a different direction and you're important enough, we're nobodies. I'm a nobody. I don't speak for everybody else in the channel, right? But I'm a relative nobody. Smartest guy in the car, but not smartest guy in the world, right? So maybe it doesn't matter for me, maybe, but I'm on guard. Don't get me wrong. This is what it's all about. Say somebody's got 1 million followers. They have 1 million followers and they start going the wrong direction. Now, how much did they watch social media? Probably plays into this. Crooks was nobody till he wasn't. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. And this guy I was talking, the thing I was talking about earlier that I was telling you guys about was also nobody until they weren't. And then there were a nobody who was a nobody again, if that makes sense. Because nobody wanted to talk about them because their job, I think that their job, or what, not their job, but the job that was done on them was designed to make sure that nobody talked about the thing that was shut down because of what they did. I really wish I could say this, guys, but I really can't right now. It's people in the media too. So they repeat the phrase over and over in connection with a person or topic. Before you know it, millions are repeating it, agreeing with no reason whatsoever. So much brainwashing. Yes. And they used to call that mockingbird media. I don't know if that's whatever. That's just a phrase that I've heard over and over again, right? So who knows? Maybe that's part of it. Susan, I heard the news passes through 5 filter groups for the public, i.e. national security. Someone ran interference for others. Yes. Yes, you are onto it. I don't know who you are, Coke Dog, but you know what I'm talking about. And I mean, you don't might not know specifically, but you're picking up what I'm putting down here, like in detail. I do suspect that if I continue to talk about these things, that some people will watch it, and I know that that's going to have to happen eventually. But if I can, like I said, if I get one person to think, my thinking of it is if we can think outside the box a little bit and have our own thoughts, real people, not AI, as much as possible, that would be a good thing. That's why I'm here on this channel. Because I like, as far as YouTube goes, I'm having a blast on my other channel, doing all the other things that I do, driving around. I like doing what I do on YouTube. This, I don't have. Maybe I shouldn't even be doing this. I just think, first of all, I wanted a place where we could just talk about everything and anything, and then I could get input from people and learn more. Driving Daily is the other channel. It's all one word. I may have some videos that you can find in my community post. I don't know. They're not linked. I don't have them linked together. They're linked they're on the same account, but they're not linked. I don't have the links for them, but that's right. Just like that. Just like you spelled it. I have a lot more fun over there. The vibe is maybe more fun, let's just say. Because whenever we get into these topics, it gets serious, right? And it is serious. Life is serious. So I worked at a government-funded media organization. We were meant to be, quote unquote, independent. Susan says, especially when it's something different that has never come up in your conversations before, very noticeable. Yeah. Yes. Okay. And you're referring to what Bulldog was saying about the 5 filter groups, and also a narrative being pushed. So some people have done videos highlighting this, showing every news agency in the country, whatever, here where I'm at, probably in yours too, saying the same thing over and over again. Same phrase. When I catch myself using those phrases, this is why I've come up with my own phrases for things, right? Social media mind control. Because when you start saying things and saying the same words, and none of us are, by the way, immune to this. I think that's what's also important to keep in mind. But if you start saying the phrases that you've heard on the news, gotta take a step back, man. Right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's okay, why am I wanting to say this thing? Now in politics, they do it all the time. Sleepy Joe. You hear people say Sleepy Joe, whatever, back in the election or whatever. Well, that's a term that came up with the guy, and you would say it over and over and over and over again, right? And now people come, regular people, you're talking to people, they're like, well, we can't get Sleepy Joe in there, And he might have been Sleepy Joe, but it's a good name. Don't get me wrong. Maybe that's not the best example. Yes, indeed. There are 3 media empires, all from the World Economic Forum. I don't want to go off track. That's okay. It's one of the good things about the lives. We can go on tangents. I'm pretty good at getting back. Well, sometimes I get maybe not always, but you want to hear something super crazy? There have been multiple times in the past few years where I've said nothing about a thing, but only thought about it. See it popping up in my ads and feeds. I wonder if I've heard that too. Like, is it reading your mind? I wonder if there are cues that this thing can pick up on and aggregate, because it's like aggregated information. You might be thinking about it now, but you might have left breadcrumbs. And I'm just shooting in the dark here. There might be breadcrumbs from the last 5 days, 6 days, 10 days, a week, leading up to these, what would make you eventually be thinking about this thing now. You get what I'm saying? I should probably make somebody a moderator. Kendra, do you want to be a moderator? I need to do this real quick. Oh, can I do this from here? No. Hold on a second, guys. No. Cancel. Don't be offended if I don't make everybody moderators. I just need one right now. Stand manager, block, standard. Remove chat message. Okay, you're gonna be standard. If you want to drop the link to Driving Daily, you can do it. Kendra, you should be. Hopefully you'll have a blue wrench now. I want to be boss. I got you. I'm just doing that for that reason, because I know you wanted to get that link, and I think Susan tried to put it. It probably didn't drop. Thank you though, Susan. Thank you so much. I'll probably administer some more wrenches later. I mean, definitely. I know you guys. I'm just doing this for expediency, and I do need somebody just in case, because in the future on this channel we'll probably do some live streams, and so as I see you guys more often in here, we'll get that going. I just need somebody who can do some stuff for me, and I appreciate that. Just in case we get some trolls as well, because that does happen. And if we ever do the vertical lives, we'll probably see a lot of trolls. Need lots of watch time the next 2 weeks. Okay. And by the way, guys, this is not this channel here. You know, I like to see growth on this channel, and I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate watch time and all that stuff. It's not the ultimate goal of this one. You know, I've got my other channels good to go. It's making a little bit, money, whatever. This is purpose built for this conversation that we're having right now. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. That sounds, hold on. Okay, so we're talking about the thoughts turning into, advertisements and things like that, or things popping up in your feed. I'm just thinking that maybe it's breadcrumbs that the AI's picking up on and trying to be predictive, because this is something else. There's so many things we could talk about, guys, with this, and it's whatever. If what I just said is the case, as crazy as it sounds, saying this on YouTube is not going to be any different, because these systems already know that I'm thinking it, and it's not that they're reading my mind. I think it's more mechanical than that. But there are predictive systems. You know what I mean? And there's a company that starts with P and ends with Tier. Okay? Do you know what I'm saying? And there's a guy named Peter. Okay? Who's responsible for that company. All right? Now, that company is doing a lot of work in that field of predictive. Okay? I feel like it's dangerous, because you could just say, once you have the algorithm, yes, it may even be predictive, like with what you're talking about in your thoughts or whatever, and then now it's showing up. But it could be even worse in the sense that maybe it's not predictive, but then once this becomes an authority. Have you guys seen Minority Report? Kind of like they know what you'll likely be interested in based off of other interests, and others who are also interested in others. Yes, kind of, Kendra. But also, they know the unique cues that you've gotten. If what I'm saying here, and this is all, like I said, it's a shot in the dark. But if they're aggregating the information on what you've done, where you've been online, what you've seen, what you've heard, what the algorithm is even going to feed you, maybe. I mean, it could go deep depending on how complex the program is. Then it is possible. Yes, they know what you're into. They know what you will watch, potentially. They don't know what you'll do. I believe you have the ability to break out of this. Like, you don't have to do what you're predicted to do. That's what the problem with that whole predicting crime thing is that people don't necessarily have to do what it's likely that they will do necessarily. But the more that people have, the more the agencies and institutions have confidence in these systems, the more they're likely to, believe it and act on it, and now put it into legislation. Or maybe, like Cope Dog was saying, they'll just get ahead of the legislation, they'll implement it, and then they'll have to deal with it later. It'll already be implemented. So it's something like that potentially. You guys are funny, Cope Dog and Susan. You guys are great. I told my husband. He looked stumped, realizing that it happens to him too. Yes, and it makes me feel absolutely crazy. But don't let it make you feel crazy. But yeah, no, this is definitely serious. Now, need lots of watch time. Okay, sorry, I read that. Kind of like, okay, I read that. I'm trying to catch up with the chat, but I'm messing up here. Starting to mess up. We're an hour in. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. Thank you so much. Yes, I think we do and say things in our daily lives that predict our future thoughts, directions, and behaviors. And Susan, that's what I'm kind of thinking. And if there's an algorithm that is designed to capture that reality, whatever that is, that thing that you just described, that. If there's an algorithm that is programmed with that in mind to try to track that and identify that or quantify it or qualify it, whatever, maybe both, in a way that can be then used to suggest things like Kendra was saying this is happening. And I've heard other people say this is happening as well. Then maybe that has something to do with it. You just have to fit the mold. Yeah. Another interesting thing, I talked to my husband about gratitude over the workout equipment I've received, and it said, and then said it would be awesome for a shoe company to reach out, and we laughed about it. A week later, Fitville. Yeah. Oh, interesting. I don't know. I don't have the answers. Now, it could just be the trajectory that you're on with your workout stuff, because you're doing things that would, of course, if you're walking. I'm just trying to I'm just wargaming it with you, since you're walking all the time, and so they know that. They're like, well, when you walk, what do you need? Footwear. It could be a coincidence. Now I'll joke about workout clothes to review just in case. Yes, I joke about gold bars, Kira, if you need watch out for chocolate coat. Yeah, you guys take care of each other. That's good. I appreciate that. That's cool. Try to support all of you as well. Well, I should say I want to do a review on a tractor. Yes, Susan, you should, because you need a tractor. You do. That would be great. Fever Dream Animation, welcome to the live stream, the first Real Thoughts Project live stream. It's funny, I had to think about that because I don't want to say driving daily. But welcome to the live stream. We've been getting into some interesting topics here today. And these are the topics we're going to talk about, and it may be slightly, I don't want to be too repetitive with my videos. At the same time, guys, when you do a video and you understand this, if you have a channel, you understand this. If you do a video and it gets like 30 or 40 views, basically nobody saw that. And I'm not saying nobody, because some of you guys do, and I appreciate it when my people see the videos, and that's who it's for. But at the same time, also, if we're trying to get the word out on things, or we're trying to get one person to think for themselves, my job for the day is done. But all the people that saw it already think for themselves, because you guys already do, because a lot of you guys are very intelligent. Like I said, I'm the dumbest guy in the chat, but the smartest guy in the car. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should just wishful. You know what? And this goes into that manifestation stuff, right? All that. And I don't get into, look, I don't get into that. I know somebody, if you do, that's cool. But like the Neville Goddard and all that stuff, right? We'll probably actually talk about that because this is an interesting topic, but I don't personally get into it, right? Now, I do believe that a person should, learn how to visualize things, of course, because I learned that from sports. Obviously, you want to visualize actually doing the thing. We talk about knife throwing, right? Like, my useless skills. You want to visualize that. If you can't visualize it, it's probably not going to happen, right? So, yes, but is that manifestation like the Neville Goddard stuff? No, I mean, that's a whole nother. But it's funny because you say that if you were into that kind of stuff, because there's huge channels that talk about that and like push it. And so I know people watch it and it's like manifestation, just, write it down, do this mantra, do this thing, and then it will appear in your life. You will manifest all this money, whatever, right? Not something I necessarily like get down with, but I mean, obviously, visualization's good, but you know what I'm saying. I hope you guys understand that. But it's funny because people that follow that, if this starts happening, what you're saying with the thoughts, process of thinking about it and then it appears, they're going to be like believing this stuff hardcore, man. They're going to be like, I manifested that. Like you manifest. In fact, if I was one of the Neville Goddard people, I would be telling you, Kendra, I'd be like, Kendra, you did it. You manifested that. It was you. And in a way, it was you because you created the channel. You know what I'm saying? Multiple things can be true at once, and then things can be painted into a different picture that's not exactly what it is, using things that are not exactly what they are. Okay, yes, you did kind of manifest it because you started a channel, you do the workouts, you do the things, you get the sponsors, you do the sponsors the videos for the things that you look at and review do really well, right? I think you have one that's like 20,000 something, whatever. So they do well, right? So then, of course, companies are going to come to you, right? So the thing that you did bring that into your reality, in a way. But you could play games with it. Sounds like cult logic. Exactly. Exactly. So if I was the cult leader, I would be like, Kendra, you did it. That was it. Now, give me your money because we need to pay the dues for the cult. Right? Cult ain't cheap. And we got to have that money. So good job manifesting since I taught you that, right? That's how they would take that. But really, in general, it's just hard work pays off. That's what I believe. And so what I believe is like you did hard work. You put in the work over the time, and that's what has come of it. Is the algorithm suggesting you, think about it this way, to the Fitville people? Maybe, because you're kind of an influencer, fitness influencer. So possibly your channel got actually suggested to their account, and now they're watching your stuff and send you the thing. Still the algorithm at work. And this is what I told people on my live stream the other day, because some people are like, well, I can't get any views or whatever on the. And I'm like, well, I think the algorithm actually kind of works. You just got to give it time. But you also have to put it out there to where it's like, I'm calling for my people, right? Like, you definitely want to, put stuff out that's intentional. And I always tell people, if you're making a YouTube video or channel, make videos for yourself. Make videos that you would watch, because then if there's people like you out there, they will probably watch those videos. Now, is that some crazy cult level manifestation? No, it's being thoughtful of other people, kind of. And when you're thoughtful of other people, you know what I mean? Then things happen. If you build it, they will come. Right. Field of Dreams. Cool movie, by the way. Just because I like baseball. You know what? That's probably also part of their plan. Brainwash us, divide us, dumb us down, remind us how much we don't need God. That's right. And that's part of it. Some people may disagree on this, but I believe that I've seen a common thread with that. If you can eliminate God from people's consciousness or their what they think, how the world works, you could be God, or maybe somebody else. That's what you want, a real cult leader. There you go. That could be the case. And I think to some degree that it is. And here goes back with the memes, the power of memes. And when you use the memes like to make fun of God or make fun of religious thing or whatever, this is all people see. And when they think about it, they keep thinking about that meme. The memes are powerful. Memes are very powerful. It's warfare. It's actually, okay, we're going to get into this. Little spoiler alert. I'm doing the research and I'm trying to get the papers together to be simple enough to put in a 10-minute video, but we may have to do a live stream like this. But memes are weapons, and I can prove it from actual documents from world government agencies. I'll just put it that way. You know who I'm talking about probably. And but the thing is, those documents are kind of long and it's a lot of reading, and I'm reading through it, and I got to try to figure out which parts to share, but I'll be able to share it with you guys in total. You can go look at it yourself, of course, but I got to blow it down to a 10-minute video, right, to get it out. But yes, governments and government type agencies have been using the memes that you see, the Donald Trump being a baby, or Joe Biden falling, going upstairs, or Ocasio-Cortez with like big front teeth or whatever, like those type of things. But then deeper than that, I'm not able to really think of all the things right now, but you get what I'm saying. Those types of memes, that whole thing, while people do it, individuals have caught on, and it's actually the definition of a meme. There's a guy named Dawkins came up with the definition, and it's kind of like the virality falls into this. It's about genetic, it's like a genetic virality, culture thing, right? A meme. And when it catches on, it spreads, and it becomes viral. It becomes this culture of its own, and it can actually grow and become a thing. And it's a mindset. It's like it can become a thought in your mind, and it is very powerful. And governments and government people, not all officials, but people that study these things for warfare and for controlling people, have studied it. There are documents that prove that. I've been looking at those documents, and we'll probably talk about that at some point. But you guys know I work all the time. Like you don't make money doing it. So I have to work all the time. So I'm not able to devote hours and hours and hours every day to this. But I have that stuff saved, and I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to figure out how to condense it down in a way to discuss it. Let me see here. You got on the daily. Okay. Okay, I'm missing some stuff. I'm just going to catch up with the chat here. Thank you guys for being here. This is amazing. It's an amazing first live stream. Yeah, really, really cool. I appreciate you guys being here, because the people that show up to live streams make the live stream when it's interactive like this. And I was fully ready to come on here and have absolutely nobody show up and just do a monologue, because I kind of knew it might be that way. So I only got 160 something subscribers to the channel. Only been a couple months, guys, but I appreciate you being here, and I'm going to catch up with this chat. If I'm walking around thinking I can manifest things and I am who controls every aspect of my life, then why would I need God? Yeah, and the thing about it is, it's like, if you can control everything, do that the next time you're sick. So the next time you're like, you have the flu or something like that, manifest yourself better. Just do that and see how it works. Now you can do things that can help get better, right? Of course you can, chicken noodle soup, and you can do all the things, and you might feel better over time. But you're going to just manifest yourself just to immediately feel better, and then come back and let me know how you were able to, become God. So yeah, very good point. Oh yes, that is true. They don't want people to believe in God. Yes, Susan. Yeah. It makes sense about the shoes and products. If I cooked all the time, kitchen appliance, yes. And Kendra, see, on my other channel, so I used to do a lot more car stuff on Driving Daily, and when I did, I had like headlight companies would hit me up, and I didn't even have an email attached. They would just they found my my other accounts, like my Instagrams and stuff. They did their diligence to get a hold of me and offer me free products, which I probably should have took. I just had a lot of stuff going on. I didn't really want to do it, but it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, like lighting, headlights, and things like that. And so if you do a car channel, which I didn't niche down. If I'd have kept niche down, I would have been able to continue and probably would have got a lot of that stuff. But since I didn't niche down, I have a mixed group of people coming in, to my channel to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that's what's going on there. I need God on the daily. Okay. My view is on this manifestation is basically saying, okay, God, you line up with my will and desires instead of the other way around, right? And who's to know what's better for us, right? Is it somebody who created us, the whole operating system, or the actual program, like the person in the program, the person? And I'm not saying, I'm just using those as, kind of a, what is that? Is that an analogy? Something like that, as an example. But if you're, if we're just a piece of this whole puzzle, and you're an individual within this whole world, an individual in the world, and there is an omniscient, and there's God who knows everything in the world, then how do we individually know what's better? It's a good question. I mean, genuinely, we have to question. And we've gotten to the point, this is why I say we got to question everything, because at this point, we've gotten to the point, the things we're talking about with God and people not wanting to learn, like to believe in God, we're at a point now where people don't even question that when they're told that, yeah, of course God doesn't exist. When I was growing up, they were like, well, the Big Bang Theory. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, where did that come from? Where did the stuff that banged together come from? Like, you can't explain it, can you? If you question it, it falls apart. And so question everything, and even religion, like question the religion, not faith in God, like necessarily. If you have faith in God, you have faith in God. Like, that's a thing that you have it or you don't. But yes, there's a lot of religious aspects that are BS. I'm just going to be real with you. That's why I say this country should not be, by government, a Christian nation, because if it was a Christian nation, what denomination would it be? Think about that. If the government made all the laws as a religion, say the government itself is Christian, and all the laws are Christian laws, which we do have a heavy Christian influence in our country, because at the time of the founding of the country, not necessarily the founders, but the people who lived in it were mostly Christian. You could say it was a Christian nation, but not by government. There's a separation there. There's a reason for that separation. It's like 1,000 different denominations of Christianity. Which one would it be? Or would it be Catholic? You know what I'm saying? Would it be the Southern Baptist Convention? What would it be? I'm not going to get into, obviously an argument on that or anything like that. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just saying this is why I believe it shouldn't be a Christian government necessarily. There's a separation for a reason. Now, if we all have freedom, you can be Southern Baptist. You could be a Catholic if you want. You could be a Buddhist if you want, whatever, right? And in that, we can figure it all out. But you have to have freedom for that. And we have that only when the government is not a religion. It's just a government that is small. I mean, if you look at the Constitution, it's all about what the government is not supposed to do. This is why you have freedom in this country that, well, at least we've had in the past, freedom in this country that other people haven't had in other countries. I mean, now there may be other countries that rival this. And the world's window up because of the music. You get what I'm saying? That are starting. I mean, we're kind of getting. This is what I'm talking about with the flock cameras. There's people in the government right now that are talking about if you talk about a certain country, they want that to not be free speech. And I don't think that's. How can we talk about things if we can't talk about things? How can we think critically if we're not allowed to have that conversation to begin with? So just that's my discourse on, well, whatever, on whether our country should be a Christian country or whether it shouldn't. I mean, I'll actually dive deeper into that. I mean, the founders of the country were like Freemasons. I don't even know if they were like Christians technically or not at all. They obviously believed in a creator or a higher power. I bet we could tell that from their writings. But most of the people that lived in the country were Christians. So they all believed in God or a higher power, whatever that is for them. And this did play into the way that our country is designed, and it actually led to the freeing of the slaves and all of this stuff. A lot of Christians were involved in the freeing of the slaves. People won't talk about that nowadays because they would say, oh, they have this narrative that they have to paint, and there's no room for that. But if you don't believe in people being created equal under God, for example, it took a while for them to catch up to that. Granted, it took a while for our country to catch up to that concept, but eventually it did, right? And here we are. I'm going to check the chat. So I know this is heavy. This is kind of different stuff, but these are the things we have to also consider. You have to be able to consider these things too. We talked about immigration earlier. Tough conversation right now. There's a lot of people yelling and screaming at each other on Facebook where I live because I guess Border Patrol came over into this area. And ICE is always here. But people were, going back and forth and yelling at each other. By design, I would say. And the people who set that up to begin with, right? The government set that up to begin with when they allowed so many people in that they knew it would be a problem, knowing it would be addressed, using those people as pawns. Should they have come illegally? No, but I'll say this about immigration. If I lived in a country a lot of those people came from, I probably want to get into America too. If the American president was saying you should come over this way, I might get sucked into that and probably want to come over here too. I honestly cannot blame somebody for wanting to be in this country because as bad as it is, as hard as times are, and they are hard, it's still a good place to be. And so I can't blame them for doing that. Now, I could say that I wish that they would have done it legally, and I do. I think that they should, because a lot of the people would be good Americans. This way, it's not that way. So you have people flying foreign flags in our country. I went by a house the other day. It had a Mexican flag, a Ukrainian flag, and no American flag whatsoever. I'm not really cool with that. I mean, I don't care. Like, you do what you want, but it's like very interesting. No American flag? It's like I could see if you had all three, maybe. But you have all these foreign flags and no American flag. You don't like your country that's giving you the freedoms. And it's like, dude, yes, we have problems. We talk about the technocracy. We talk about the coming potential tyranny, the invasion of privacy, all that on this channel. We're watching that for sure. But you got to be real. Look at history. It's like I was talking about when you're talking about having kids or there's never going to be a good time. If you look at history, it's not as violent right now as it has been in the past in history. There were some violent times, like really crazy times. Times that if you disagreed with the leader, if you're in America right now and you disagree with the president, you can say whatever you want. People do it all the time. Unfortunately, I have a Facebook account, and I look on there and I see all kinds of stuff. I'll be critical of the president too. I mean, I'm critical of all of them. I'm an equal opportunity. Like, just because I lean one way or the other, it doesn't mean I'm not going to call you out if I think that you're doing something that's not good for the country. But people can actually call for bad things to happen. People can do all kinds of stuff here, and they're free to do it. That tells you right there it's not as bad as it could be. Now, once they get the apparatus in with the surveillance and all the stuff, will it get bad? It could, because they would easily be able to control the population at that point. They could make it bad if they want to. It just depends on who's running the show and where they want to go with this whole thing. That's why I'm against it. I'm against the mass surveillance and all of this what we talk about. AI's got information, like all the information on everybody. It can blackmail you. Whoever has access to it can use it to blackmail everybody that has any discrepancy in their behavior. It's a good time if you're a person who's actually, morality doesn't save you, okay? But not having things that can be used to blackmail you is a good thing, right? I don't have a perfect past. I'll be right up front with that, and I always have been on the other channel and stuff like that. So I'm okay with that. That's why I'm not like people like, oh, you run for office? No, that ain't me. But I will say this, but I'm okay with, like, whatever. I'm okay with it. But if you got somebody that's important, for example, and they're going and running around on their wife and the wife doesn't know, let's just say, AI knows. AI knows. And so it all depends on how much that person cares if their wife knows what's going on or not, how powerful of a tool that can be to control and manipulate that individual. You get what I'm saying, guys? That's why this is a dangerous thing. It's not just you. Some people say, well, I have nothing to hide. Well, it's not that. It's that they're going to use this against your local politicians to change legislation in your municipality that is going to change your life. They can get this guy to come after you. They can get this guy to say, yep, I don't want people to have a Second Amendment anymore. Yep, I don't think people need private property. In fact, they can have private property. It's going to be a 50-year loan. Our president actually went for that, the 50-year loan for the house. 50-year mortgage, they call it. Dude, if I'm in my mid-30s, if I do a 50-year, I'll be in my mid-80s. Are you kidding me, dude? Finally got a paid-off house, dude, in mid-80s. If I make it that far, that is crazy, dude. If a person, even a person in their 20s, if a person is 20 years old, and they get a 50-year mortgage, and they just pay the payments, the minimum payments. And do this right. They're going to be 70 years old when they pay the house off. So they say you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. Maybe that's what they mean. You'll never fully own that house. And a lot of people, I mean, I would say that I'm close to making the same decision too. Well, if I could rent nice houses in different locations that are nice for my family and travel the world, rather than being a slave for 50 years for a house, I guess I'll have to do that. It's tough, man. And so there's people that don't have our best interest at heart. I'm reading the chat. I think a lot of chat has gone by and it wasn't going on my phone and I didn't see it. So I wasn't ignoring you guys. Man, I missed a lot of the chat. I'm going to go back. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you guys. Wow, I missed a lot. Okay. They want people to need to be led by big business and governments, not influenced by belief in God. Yes. They become the God. They become, the thing that people look to for authority. And if you have something that you believe, for example, if you believe that God created the world, and even if you just stop there, okay, a lot of science just has to go out the window. And then there are other implications downrange. You can't really stop there, can you? Because who is this God? Well, I would like to know who that is. You can't, but if they stop it right there and they say, no, God didn't create the world, it was the Big Bang. Well, who created the things that bang together then? I mean, it's just if you question things, a lot of times the narrative will fall apart. And that's my issue with religion. I see somebody talking about religion there as well. Even with religion, because religion sometimes, that's a lot of that is the doctrines of men. Religion. I'm not that guy. But I'm just saying the religions are doctrines of men too at times if they're not based on something sound. And so a lot of times even religion can become like that government or like that thing that people follow. It tells them what to do that is not built on a rock or solid foundation of truth, if that makes sense. And I'm going to try to catch up with the chat here. Absolutely. Even when these people quote the Bible, it is so out of context, it's not even funny, to the point where God's actual word is offensive, bigotry, hateful, etc. It's so sad. Yes, absolutely. And if you're dealing, and here's the crazy thing, and it's like, if you're dealing with a sovereign God, then how are you going to tell that God what is right or wrong as well? Not to say they are taking it out of context. Absolutely. But at the same time, God has the authority to do that. If he created everything, he has the authority to deal with it how he wants to, doesn't he? So who's to say that, well, that's not fair, or I don't like the way that sounds? Okay, you don't like the way that sounds. I've told you guys a lot of times, when we're looking for the truth, it hurts. Oftentimes, it is not fun. It's not, it doesn't, it can hurt, it can feel, in a way, it can hurt us, like, it hurt our feelings or whatever. It's like, I didn't want to hear that, because that wasn't correct. It wasn't right. Like, I was wrong. I didn't want to hear that, or whatever. But the truth is the truth, no matter what you do. Now, I know there's different perspectives. We've talked about that with the elephant and all this stuff. But getting back to the chat, this whole rapture thing recently, when it didn't happen, they changed the date. The great all-knowing God who created the universe didn't know we had changed the calendar. Yeah. If you truly believe in God, how could you possibly believe he would be that? Right. Yeah, the rapture thing was interesting. So that's another kind of religious thing, right? I mean, and it's the doctrines of man. Who came up with that? The dates and times and things like that. Men do. Men calculate, try to figure things out, and think we know it all. So everybody thought the rapture. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm so out of the loop. I don't stay up to date with a lot of the religious organizations in my area and stuff, I have to admit. And so, because I'm not going to get into that too much, but, anyway, I didn't know that the rapture thing was a thing. I don't know if that was just the internet thing mostly, or if that was a thing that, was going on in churches. I'll have to talk to some people. I know a couple preachers, and I know a couple, I know people that are involved in Christendom all over, but I don't get involved in the organizational part of it. I just don't. Okay. It is what it is. And, but I probably should ask, is this something that people were saying in church? Like, is this something that's being preached? I don't know, but I thought that it was really crazy when I heard about it, and it was actually after the fact. And then this gets, okay, so Kendra says, and then this gets me on the whole, oh, you're sick. Well, you didn't believe hard enough for healing. You didn't have enough faith, again, making individuals their own God. Right. Yeah, because, not to get into the whole works versus faith. We're going into it, I guess. On the first live stream, anyway. But it's like, I guess what some people would call, they would say, well, that's a works based religion or faith or whatever, where the person is they're completely in charge of their destiny, no matter what, right? Which is not necessarily what's taught in the Bible, really. Okay. We get to be a part of different things. It's a wonderful thing. We get to live, which is great. So I guess if Thanksgiving's coming up, we should be thankful we're alive, and we get to be a part of this stuff. And and even we do make some of our own decisions. We make decisions as this goes on. It's crazy. But to say that, like, like you were saying, they mock people who get sick, who believe in God, have faith, and they get sick, and they say, well, it's because you didn't have enough faith, or I guess, you didn't believe, because if you did, you would be healed, or whatever. Now, all these healers, these people, the preachers that go along, and I don't know if they call them preachers, they're like these, they do these shows, faith healers, whatever. Not to say that people can't help other people and that people don't have more potential than they think they do. I'm not saying that's not the case, but it's like there's people that hit somebody in the forehead and they're just like, they can walk again, right? And then to say that, and then to say, well, if it didn't work, you didn't believe. I think it's kind of what you're saying. Also, atheists would be pointing this thing out to people, and they would be like, see, it didn't work. Well, that guy might just be an actor, right? Like, that guy might be just playing around that he has these powers. Or he has, he's channeling these powers. This is a crazy thing. But they'll wrap that up into Christendom and say that, well, isn't that Christianity? Let me read try to get back to the chat, guys. Thank you for being here. Notice the pastors who do the best are the ones that preach health, wealth, and prosperity. God doesn't want you to be sick. Yeah, God uses even our most horrible situations to his glory. Absolutely. You know, and guys, I'm not God, that guy. Like, I'm not a preacher or anything like that. We're just having we're just having a conversation. I feel like we all are, I don't want to say entitled. We're all allowed to have this conversation. We should. And so it's okay to have this conversation. Not preaching, but yes. It's kind of like Romans 8:28, and Kendra, we've talked about that so many times. It's come up, and I know it's everybody's favorite, right? And it's one of my favorites because a lot of things happen, and it's hard to know why things are happening because we can't. You can scientifically look at the bandwidth of a human being and understand that a person could never fully understand everything that's going on. We don't have a capacity to do it. So how could we know fully what's good for us and what's not? When you make a knife, you take the metal and you have to cut it into a shape, and you have to beat it into a shape, and you have to, sometimes you fold it. There's like Damascus steel. It's folded and folded and folded. It's heated. It's beaten. It's heated. It's beaten. And it's heated again. It's heat treated, all this stuff, right? And then it's honed, and there's metal like removed from the blade to create, you know, whatever kind of grind that you want to create, and to create that apex to make a sharp knife, to create a sharp knife, because the steel ain't sharp to begin with. It takes a process. And so, I mean, at a certain point in our life, all of us are living a life where we're in a process of that. Like, I have a lot of like stuff going on, guys. See, I almost said a bad word, right? Whatever. I'm just trying to keep it PG. I probably normally just would in the conversation, just being real with you guys. I have a lot of stuff going on. I'm not perfect. And I never have been perfect. But I would hope that I'm being molded in life, just in general. Just in general. Anybody could tell you that. A sports coach could tell you that. You have to break down the muscle to build it back up. And that's not necessarily a cakewalk. No pain, no gain. I mean, obviously you don't want to completely burn out your muscles, but you get what I'm saying. And so I think that's what you're getting at a little bit. But the health, wealth, and prosperity on earth was never promised. I love that so much. Yes. Fever Dream says people use God and the Bible when they have no logical argument. Yeah, but I think also scientists do the same thing. And people who argue against the Bible also argue in the same way with no argument. I take a different approach of it, and a lot of people don't agree, and you don't have to agree. You know, so if you look at the Old Testament, that came from like so many years and years and years and years and years and years of refinement of whatever, being told from this person to this person to this person to be what it was. So I'm not looking to like something like the Old Testament to give me scientific formulations so that I can understand all the intricacies of the earth or the world or whatever. You could be a scientist and do that. A lot of things that happen in that science are manipulated, but some things truly just show, hey, look, it looks like maybe we were created. Maybe things are ordered and structured in a certain way that only somebody who created this earth could do. I'm just saying, like, so we have to consider that as well. You know, like I said, because these same people wanted us to believe it's like two rocks or something that just collided, but they didn't ever have an explanation of where the things came from. I know I keep going back to that, but it's the most basic, and it's like what we were taught as children in schools and things. I wasn't, because I was homeschooled. I was told to question everything, and I did. Now I'm telling the world to question everything. And it's okay to question, like, things. If you come from a situation, you've never read the Bible or anything, read it, think it, ask questions, because that's how you can learn. We should ask questions. You should say, I don't feel like that makes sense. There's things I wrestle with all the time. So it's why, you know, I'm not a preacher or anything like that. Those guys, I have found a lot of preachers, and I'm not trying to attack anybody, because there's probably great preachers out there, but I found that a lot of them are happy to know more than the congregation and be completely confident and speak with conviction about things that maybe they haven't thought about or questioned either. And this is a dangerous thing. And I know this is the case with some preachers because I have asked them those questions, those tough questions, because I'm also wrestling with those things. And they're happy to just give me the textbook definition of whatever it is that they were taught in seminary and just leave it be. And then if you don't want to go with that, well, you're just an ignorant person that doesn't know, and you didn't go to seminary, so how could you possibly know? And that is not good enough for me, personally, as somebody who questions things, right? So there's that aspect of it that's going on all the time. But that is what's represented as Christendom. And it's not necessarily the best representation. Sorry for that long. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta read. Okay, Susan, I get so many videos shared with me about numbers and clues about the rapture and how I need to be ready for X date. For years, I've been getting links to these videos. Right. Everybody's got their eschatology on point. They know everything, right? But nobody knows anything. It's the truth, as far as that's concerned. There's signs. There's things like this that... Look, we're living in times that are a lot like times that have happened in the past as well. Now, there's things that have happened now that, according to history and what we know about history, have, like AI, that's something that's crazy. But then at the same time, if that ends up being our idol as a people, I say our society looks up to that like it's going to have all the answers. Well, people have done that before, but maybe with other entities. So even that's not new in that sense. It's just new in the sense that it's a technology. I'm trying to catch up with the chat. Guys, I appreciate you being here. This is really cool. All right, so sorry for such messages. Yeah. I try to calm it down. Yeah, I know. And it's cool. It's cool. We're having these conversations. Thankfully, everybody hadn't dropped off, so that's cool. I appreciate you guys hanging in here for this. This is a tough conversation. We'll get back to government overreach soon. That type of pastor is like many, not all, of our politicians. As they move up the ladder in their professions, they are seduced by power. Right, Susan. And it's power over people. And in the sense of a pastor, it's like you have the power over the congregation. Is it money? Is it the actual act of power? Is it other things? We've found out that it is. There's a lot. I mean, you go into certain organizations in the United States, certain very well-known, very prominent, and very well-attended churches and types of churches, and you start to see some really shady stuff that's going on. It's usually the pastor, which sucks, but that's what's happening. And those are the ones that they went to seminary and they know more than you do. And they, how dare you question this? Because I'm the authority. They'll say, I'm the man of God. That's what they'll say. I'm never going to do that to you guys. See, if you come to my live streams, I realize I'm a person just like everybody else. You're a person just like everybody else. And see, God is not a respecter of persons. So when it comes to those things, yeah, dude, we all have to be willing to be wrong if we're going on our own intuition, our own wisdom, and things like that, right? That type of, okay, yep. I'm doing it. I can't stop. Hey, amen, John. Kendra, hi, Dan. How you doing? I see you there. I now see you because the chat was so, I was having a hard time keeping up with it. I kept running my mouth. I'll see, hey, Dan. Everybody's saying hello. Fever dream. Americans looking like the Great Gatsby in a lot of aspects before the Great Depression. Amen again, John. It does look like Great Gatsby a bit, doesn't it? Because we have our politicians going to big parties and attending balls and hanging out with celebrities and things like that, while the people are pretty much going hungry. We're having a hard time. We're having a hard time here. I'm not, personally, I'm in touch with it. I said it the other day to another friend of mine on here on YouTube who's very well off. I mean, he does well, and I appreciate him, and we have good conversations. We're in different socioeconomic positions, right? And so it's great to be able to have conversations, right? But I was like, I was telling him, I'm actually, you know, in a way, I'm in touch with the struggle. When I talk to people, when I talk to like about Gen Z, right? I've talked about the doomer culture and stuff. I'm in touch with it a little bit. I'm not Gen Z, I'm millennial, but I understand the idea that there's this struggle going on, because there is. Things are more expensive than they've ever been. People haven't really made more money on the whole. A lot of people have. I mean, some people are doing really well, but not everybody's making more money. Most people are just making about the same as they were like 10 years ago. And prices on certain things have 100% higher than they were 10 years ago. Well, like, guys, at Walmart, I was able to go to Walmart back in the day. I know I was getting those spaghetti sauce, jars of spaghetti sauce. I think it was 89 cents. I know it was under $1, dude. Walmart brand. Like a generic brand, most stuff. I'm pretty sure those are $1.50, maybe even $2 now. Twice as much. That's a huge, I mean, well, not $1.50, that's not twice as much. $2 would be twice as much, and maybe it is $2. Incredible leaps in the sense of the price of things, and people's money is just not keeping up with that, right? Meanwhile, our politicians are entertaining celebrities, like I said, going to balls, building a new part of the White House, which is fine. I don't care. It's government money. It's all going to get thrown away anyway. You might as well build something that's going to be part of history. But you get what I'm saying. It's crazy. I'm just listening. I'm just trying to read the chat here. If people can't own anything, they won't fight to defend it. That's a very good statement. It's another thing to think about when you talk about immigration. And I was saying that, I agree. Look, I understand these people want to come here, because I would too. If I came from a communist country, or a country that had taken everything from its people and then left the gangs to basically ravage it, I'd want to come to America too, because there's still something left. There's still some meat on the bone. It's a good place. But what does that do? You bring somebody in that has nothing. You use the government to give them things, right? And try to get them hooked on it. Doesn't make that person necessarily a bad person, but the government is manipulating that person to say, hey, come here, and we'll give you free stuff. We'll try our best to make you a citizen illegally or whatever. Try to figure out how this thing. But you got to vote for free stuff more, and get them right back in the same situation that they came from with the communist nation. And I know people that have immigrated this country that have illustrated this for me, and it's how I understand it. Obviously looking at history and things like that as well. But they said, John, where I come from, they did all this stuff, this communist stuff, whatever. And it's like, people don't own anything, whatever, same thing. Government's in control. And it's the same thing that they're trying to push here on both sides, guys. Both sides. I know a lot of us probably, some of us might have voted for Trump, some of us might not have, some of us might not have voted. I don't know about the voting thing, guys. I don't want to get into that too much. I'm not trying to blackpill everybody. I'm not sure about the voting thing, but vote if you have to. But it's happening on both sides. Trump is more socialist than any president we've ever had in a lot of ways. I mean, I hate to say it and break it to you like that, because I've looked at it and I'm like, dang, dude, really? Because I've like found myself defending the president because people attack him based on the Trump derangement syndrome thing. But it's like, no, there's real things going on here, man. There's real things going on here. And it's like, just because you say you're conservative doesn't mean you're conservative. Okay, and this is why we need critical thinking in this country. And you can't just vote for the other person too, just because the other person's doing bad. Look, that's what they got. That's how they got Biden. They voted against Trump. Well, they got Biden. And they voted against Kamala. We voted against Kamala. Now we got Trump, right? So now they're going to be like, well, we're going to vote against anything else. What else? What are you going to get? The agenda's moving along. People are broke, not having a good time out here. And like working. Guys, I work 7 days a week. There's six days a week. But almost every day a week. And multiple hustles. I'm not complaining on my personal situation. I'm just saying, like, I get it. I get the struggle. I get it. Cope Dog's still here. Handicap's still here. Thank you. A lot of you guys are still here. I appreciate you being here. Jody. Susan says, but how many people felt disillusioned when it didn't happen, the rapture, and turned away from God as a result? And that is the misleading thing that I think is happening, and why so many, I don't know if I'm the one to speak on this, guys, but it's just my thinking on it. So just take it as my thoughts, take it with a grain of salt, just disregard it if it's not, for, if you don't agree or whatever, that's fine. And I disagree in the comments, it's fine. But this is what I think is going on with the churches, man. And I think, because this country just have churches everywhere as well. I mean, it always used to be a church. But the message that's preached now is a lot different than it used to be. It's this easy thing. It's this, like Kendra was saying, health, wealth, prosperity. You just tithe, you just tithe enough to this church. And that'll be a sign of faith to God, and you would just have everything you want. You'll start getting, you'll get the job, you'll get the cars, you get the things. And some people it might work out and it's bad for them when it actually works out and they think that that's what's going on. And just like you said, same thing when they're told the rapture's going to happen by their preacher, somebody they trust, right? So we should trust in God, right? Not people, right? So I say don't rely on government. Government's not savior. Government's not savior. When the churches are preaching this message, these different messages, it's different variations of it. Something like this rapture's coming now, whatever. And then, like you said, people turn away because it didn't happen, right? It's because the guy was lying to you to begin with. It's not God lying to you, it's a man lying to you. God didn't give any dates. He didn't give it to any man to write down any dates in the Bible whatsoever. None of those books, even in the Apocrypha, if you're into that kind of stuff. If you read that, none of that stuff does it tell you any specific dates for anything, rapture or otherwise, whatever. Whether that's pre-tribulation, post-tribulation, whatever, all that stuff. And so, yes. Another thing is they preach a different, they're not consistent with it. Well, you gotta wear a dress if you're a woman, or you gotta do this, or you gotta do that. But on these other things, it doesn't matter. You just do whatever you want. You're good to go. Say this thing, pray this thing. Let's baptize you and get it done with. Get you on the rolls. Most importantly, get your credit card information. And you'll be good to go. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what, none of this stuff matters because it's not faith, or it's not works. But you gotta wear a dress if you're a woman. That's a contradiction. When you got people contradicting themselves like that, you're confusing these people. They're probably trying to do the right thing, but what's really going on there? All right, so no struggle, nothing, right? Just come on in, just sit down, fill this out, credit card information. All right, handicapped traveler. The you do not have enough faith is not what Jesus taught. That's right. You can't have enough faith, Dan. It's not that you have faith at all, because it's a gift. Right? You guys might disagree. That's fine. I'll just the way I see it. But this takes the power away from God, puts it in place of the hands of man. It's funny because the Freemasons started this country. Probably didn't even believe in God the way we do, or the way maybe I do, or maybe you do. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody but myself. But they understood human nature enough to know they couldn't centralize power to one person or even all people, like in the sense of a mob, democracies. Why is it not a democracy? It's a constitutional republic for a reason. Because if you have a democracy, Everybody will always vote to give themselves all the stuff. And you can only implement that through a strong government, central government, that does the will of the people in that democracy, the mob rule. One more word on democracy, I'll be done with that. You get 5 people in a room, and some of you have heard this before, but if you get 5 people in a room and 4 people decide they are going to do terrible things that I can't say on this channel, whatever, to the 5th person, 4 people decide they're going to attack the 5th person and do terrible things. That is a democracy, purely a democracy, mob rule. And the founding fathers knew that, but they also knew from having a king just recently. See, that was the New World Order at the time. If you were conservative at the time, you wanted a king, a monarchy. If you were a little bit, that's why they're liberal. Liberal today is a whole different thing. Can't say I'm liberal because the founding fathers were, because in the founding fathers' day, liberal was to say we don't need a king. Now liberal is to say maybe we want a king. I don't know. Maybe it's something different. I don't know, but liberal is different now. Conservative now would be to look back in that time between now and the time that we got rid of the king and all of that in between, which I'm a fan of. It wasn't perfect, but it might have been the best thing we had. But they realized that men are not like gods and can't, well, maybe they thought actually with the pantheon, if you go, I don't get into that, it's too much. But this is why we don't have a centralized, this is why we don't have an individual who's the king. That's why we don't have mob rule, because man will mess himself up every time. And if you don't believe me, I mean, just look out there in the world. It's not just the politicians that are corrupt. I say this to people all the time. You get mad at Donald Trump because he bails out his friend, or Joe Biden because he bails out his friend. I know a lot of people that would bail out their friend if they had that potential to do it. It's a normal human nature thing. That's a human thing. Get a call here. It's a human thing, and people will do that every time. It doesn't matter if you're in a position of power. Just the difference is this guy actually was able to do it because he's in a position to do it. But I know most people probably in the same position. They have a friend, they can the friend's a captive for whatever reason, maybe a fraud or something, like maybe they committed a crime, and they can get their friend out. A lot of people can do that. That's a human thing. We have to realize politicians are people. Okay, I'm sorry. I missed. You didn't have enough faith. So destroy belief in God. Replace it with government, with big business doctrines. Yes, absolutely. I think that is possibly maybe at the root of all of this. And I know a lot of people might not catch on to that. Maybe some people are still, like, I don't know, I believe in this God thing. Think about it. That's all I'm asking. You can still disagree, and that's fine. The most welcome here ever, right? Even if you disagree with that. Just want you to maybe think about it, because it makes sense. Prayer does help, though. There are responses God can give. Yes, no, not now. Yeah. Whoa. I was about to report you because I was rolling up. I don't want to do that. Hitting buttons here. Yes, handicapped traveler. Scientists still have not explained to me when the gases came from the Big Bang. And that's what I was saying. The gases. Was it gases, balls of gas, or whatever? Whatever. The things that went bang, where did the materials for that process come from? Where did it come from? Or is it possible that everything was already in motion and everything was already, like, God was already here with the things that were here with him, and none of this was, and he created it, like it says. Like he created it. And it doesn't give us much of a backstory beyond that, right? If God's eternal. It doesn't give us that backstory because it doesn't apply, because that doesn't have to do with this world. I mean, as far as I can tell. You can disagree if you want. I'm just saying, I just don't feel like, it's like, you don't need to know all that stuff. It gives you some understanding of, heavenly host and things like that. We're given some information, but we're not given details. And that's why I say, like, for the people that want, well, the Bible says this and doesn't explain this, this, and this. I'm not looking to the Bible for formulaic, scientific details about our reality necessarily on that level. That's not what that's not what it's there for. Interesting is God gave us minds so that we could find all this stuff out for ourselves. Like, we can. Science is the study of God's creation, really, if you really want to look at it that way. And you may disagree, but if you look at it through this lens, you're really just studying God's creation and finding out what it is as close as you can. And the fact that we don't know, it's so extensive. We haven't even been to the bottom of most of the ocean. It's like space. And I like science fiction, but a lot of science fiction touches on this stuff in a weird way. But I'll say this, it's interesting, because we were talking about Jules Verne the other day. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's like going into space. And even now, a lot of what was going on in that book, we still don't do and can't do. It's amazing. We were not exactly when, okay, sorry. Most of the Bible was created by Rome and other gods and religions, Fever Dream says. Rome probably had something to do with some of the books. I'm not actually qualified to historically talk about exactly like the Septuagint and the Vaticanus, I believe it is. Some of you guys might know Textus Receptus. All these the documents, and as they were pulled together, that's out of my depth. Okay, I will admit that. But I will say this. And here's what I think about those other gods and religions as well. Because I could be wrong about this, but wasn't it when the Tower of Babel fell that the nations were divided, and then there were entities that were put over the nations? Could it be that that's what a lot of these gods that people talked about in mythology and things like that? Could that have something to do with it? We live in a spirit. There is spiritual stuff going on, and there are entities that were in this world, and we don't know. I mean, we don't know everything about that. It's possible some of that stuff, some of those stories and legends and things like that, even came from the men of renown even before, right? So could be reality to some of those stories in some degree, right? But I personally don't think that is necessarily like where the Bible was necessarily created. I do think Rome took over a lot of the religious aspect of it. Look at the Catholic Church and things like that. But that is a rabbit hole as well. It's another rabbit hole. So, but it's a lot to consider. We are not to know exactly when Jesus will come back. That's correct. No man knows the day or that hour. And so if somebody says they do, I am very skeptical of that person, right? Just like I'm skeptical of people that are very, very super confident in their information all the time, right? Like, you see me, sometimes I'm like, I'll stumble a little. Like just a minute ago, I did that because I was like, well, I can't tell you what I wish I knew. I can't do that. So I can only say that that's not something that I fully know. And I'm always willing to look into it further. But I can't tell you that with confidence or whatever, the specific details of this and that. But some people would. They would just go over it and they would just say whatever they wanted to say and just do it with 100% conviction. It's a dangerous individual. It's kind of what we're combating against on this Real Thoughts Project thing. Though we should live as if it happened tomorrow. That's true. Susan says, I have to go, my dears. I have to go and tend to my animals. Susan, if you're still here, thank you so much for being here. And always, and I appreciate it. Take care of those animals. You're living a better lifestyle than the one I live. I wish I could do that stuff too. And I know it's a lot of work. A lot of people are like, I'll just go get a cabin in the woods, escape the matrix. Susan will tell you, she doesn't have a cabin in the woods, but she'll tell you, you want to change that lifestyle, it's going to be a lot of work. So most people are going to want to just go back to, probably just going to want to go back to the job that you had or whatever you wanted to escape, the matrix that you wanted to escape. Yeah, matrix is we're going to talk about this probably on a video form. A lot of things we talk about here, I'm going to make individual videos about. So this is kind of like an exclusive, whatever, right? Like you guys, you're getting the sauce right here, but you have to make the videos so they go out so people get to see it. But the matrix term comes from womb, and a womb is a warm, soft place, easy to live in, and everything's taken care of for you, and you don't have to work, and there may be a bit of working to grow, right? But yeah, generally it's easier, and when the baby comes out, come out screaming. Because it's tough, it's a cold world, it's cold outside compared to in there. So when people talk about escaping the matrix, it's kind of funny to me. Oh, you want to go do a cabin in the woods? I grew up in a cabin in the woods. You got to chop wood for warmth. That's fine. It's therapeutic, really, but you got to keep up with that. You got to clean the chimney, too. When you burn that wood, creates soot. You want animals, you got to feed them. You got to water them. You got to take care of them. They're going to get sick. You have to call the doctor. You got to figure it out. The vet. You may have to, you're going to have to learn how to chop down trees and stuff, right? You learn how to defend yourself. Be out there in the wild, right? Those grizzly bears, whatever. Like, you get what I'm saying? Most people think they want to just escape. Well, what are you going to do, actually? I don't think most people are really about that life. Just saying. I'm not saying I'm about that life. I'd like to be closer to that. I'm not saying I could totally do it. I'm not as tough as my dad. My dad could do that stuff. He's a good hunter. I haven't hunted since I was a kid, right? He's a good hunter. He's a good worker. He can take down trees. Really, he knows exactly how to do it. You know what I mean? He takes care of the cabin in the woods. He built the cabin, right? It was with him and his brothers, and he built that. They built it. This is the generation. That generation is different than my generation, and different than the new generation. Like, dude. So I'm just being real about that. Okay, everybody stand by to Susan. I have to go grocery shop. Now that I have to go grocery shop, I'm having a culture shock. What does that mean? By Susan. Bulldog said thumbs up. These topics like control, surveillance, and police accountability transcends party lines. That's right, Cope Dog. They do. I've noticed this. When I started talking about the flock cameras, right? Because, just full disclosure, probably I'm mostly close to conservative circles, like my friends and things like that. I'm from the South, right? Country. And so most of the people I know, conservative, pro 2A, pro freedom, things like that. Probably voted for Trump, right? Most people. But when it comes to but they didn't vote for AI, right? This is what I'm talking about. Like, you voted for Trump because you didn't want communism. Well, now we got Trump hanging out with the socialists in the White House. This is a little bit different, right? It's changed up. So we can all kind of get in on this. Kendra, thank you for being here. You're good. I appreciate you. Have a great night. And happy Thanksgiving. I probably maybe won't talk to you between now and then because it is tomorrow. So it's coming. Y'all have a great Thanksgiving. But yeah, these things, they transcend party lines. So like I said, when I started getting into the flock thing, now I do a weird thing where I have multiple accounts for looking things up, right? And I have an account that's liberal and I have an account that's conservative. And they try to blend it because Google knows, right? But also if you ever want to change that, just go in and just start a blank slate, right? Don't sign in. But you could see how different the world is, right? So I hear what people on the left talk about, and I hear what people on the right talk about. And I'm making a point to try to make sure I'm hearing both. And on the extreme ends, honestly, well, there's a reason why I'm independent. But with the flock cameras, most of the people that are talking about the flock cameras right now are kind of left-leaning. And I stand with them on this thing because it is all of us who are going to have a problem when all of the information is available to bad actors, to potentially a government that wants to misuse it, or private corporation that wants to work alongside a government that wants to misuse it. Which we're seeing possibly happen. Remember that company I said that starts with a P, ends with an T, and there's a guy named Peter that's involved with the whole thing. Very involved in our government, by the way. Very instrumental in getting the people elected who have been elected. And a lot of us weren't seeing that. I kind of knew it. And honestly, there's like this cognitive dissonance where you don't want to look at it. But it's true. We got to grapple with that as a country. The Founding Fathers, one thing about it is they wanted the voting population to be educated. Like, not educated like brainwashed. That's what education is today. But to be knowledgeable about things that are going on and what would be better for their best interest, for the best interest of the country. To be able to make good decisions. To know if I eat all the candy today, I'm going to have problems tomorrow. Right? If I vote myself everything today, there might not be anything to vote myself for tomorrow. So being responsible, educated in that way. That was something that was very important, and there's a back and forth all along as they gave voting rights to different groups of people. And so, you know, and no matter how you feel about that, it's part of that conversation was, do these individuals, can they read? Do they understand how the government is supposed to work? Do they have a stake in it? Do they own land? I think at one point in time you had to own land. So you had a stake in this thing, literally. That's what they used to call it. So, all very important. 2 wolves and a sheep vote for what's for dinner? Democracy. Absolutely. Yes. And I think a lot of people don't understand that because democracy is seen as this, hailed as this beautiful concept. And in a sense, we get to use democracy at its best in a representative republic because, yeah, your representative is democratically elected. But he's not going to go, or she is not going to go and change all the policies in the country on their own, just representing your district. They got to work with other representatives. It's actually brilliant. It's brilliant. Now it's being hijacked. It's been being hijacked for a long time now. But it is a brilliant system. Bulldogs agrees, right, dog? Fever Dream. If it has a theory in the title, it's based on fiction. Kendra had to go. Yep, take care. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving. Can't believe the prices since when I used to shop. Yeah, Dan, it's tough out here. And I'm going to tell you, man, there has been nights when my wife's like, yeah, we need this or that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to work an extra couple hours because I DoorDash. I can just do as much as I want. But eBay sales are a little bit more static. I mean, they also go up and down depending on what I input. But, of course, you can't make people buy things. You get really good returns when they do, but you can't make it, you can't force sales. So it's like, while I wait for that to happen, I'm working every day. And yeah, there's some days where, she's like, we need this and that. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to be working 2 extra hours so I can make $40 more so we can buy those things. Right. And that's the difference. And it's tough. So I feel for people with fixed income because the government has not increased, from what I understand, has not increased the numbers to keep up with where the dollars are really at in debasement. If everyone could agree on what the facts are, there'd be very little difference in beliefs, in my opinion. That's true. That's true. It's where psyops come in, right? Because you can keep people divided and fighting over things if you can keep reality a mystery. If you know, and by reality, I just mean like even like what the president ate for lunch. People argue over it. You get people arguing over it. Now your job's done. People will take the rest from there and they'll start fighting and whatever. And now they're out of your way. You can do whatever you want. And I believe that's kind of what's happening. Not beliefs, but right from wrong, good and bad. Yeah. So there's something, I can't remember where this was. I can't cite this exactly, but there's been studies on it. And there's also philosophers that have argued this, that if you don't have the same beliefs or similar beliefs in your society, specifically a republic, then, or democracy really, then it wouldn't technically work as good. And it's very hard to make it work. If everybody has a broad, if we can't agree on what's right and wrong, we have a problem, you know? And so when we had actual progress, like actual, like betterment of lives all the way throughout the history of our country, when everybody agreed, or most people could agree on right and wrong. And yes, most people that lived here probably were basing that loosely on the 10 Commandments, maybe. Which is a good, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. And you could just blindly follow, or you could actually go through and look at the 10 Commandments and actually think, why is this relevant? Why does this make sense? And it does. It tends to make sense. If you do certain things, you know, like somebody else's wife or something, that dude's probably going to take you out. That's a problem. It's not good it's not good. So don't do it. Okay. A lot of it can be boiled down to almost just basic sense, basic common sense. But it's beyond that, as we know. But it also is that, because things that are true in more ways than one. I mean, they're just true in every way. And if we can't agree on that, then we do have a big issue. Even if we don't want to agree how, you can disagree on how to be, you know, your religious things. But if we all agree on what's right and wrong, we can have a society, we can be free enough to express those other things. And maybe they'll be different. Because maybe everybody's searching for the truth. They want to have a relationship with God and do it on their own. But the truth is, if we can't agree, yes, we're going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. And I really wish, this is why I'm like only just the smartest guy in the car. I cannot remember the philosopher who said this, but yeah, what I was talking about. They basically argued that when you get a bunch of different cultures that have conflicting beliefs, I think it was a republic, would really not work out for very long, because everything would be hijacked from the one belief, and all the freedoms would be used against the republic or whatever. But I'm just basing that loosely because I can't remember who it was. But that would be a good video, right? But a lot of people, you can't talk about that because a lot of people would be like, well, that's just discriminating. The postmodernists would say, well, that's exclusive. It's exclusionary. That's the term that the postmodernists would say. That Michel Foucault's, even the Jean Baudrillard's and all that, even though Baudrillard has a really cool concept that actually, I disagree with almost everything the postmodernists say. I understand why they're saying it, and it's actually becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, but at the same time, Baudrillard does have that simulation, and even that book's very dry, the essay or whatever. I guess it's a book technically, but Simulation in the Simulacra, I think it's called, or Simulacra in the Simulation. Let me know in the comments, I'm getting it wrong. But anyway, one of the concepts in there is how everything's fake, basically based on something that's also fake, that's based on something that's real, essentially. Thomas Sowell. Yeah, very good. Did he say that? I believe there was a philosopher even before, but he would have been well versed in that concept because he was a very well educated man. And I could see him saying that at some point in history, in time. So, but maybe that is. Maybe I believe also that he's also pulling from somewhere else though. But yes, I mean the concept is an interesting one and definitely good to. But you might be searching that, or you may have already read that, and thank you, Coke Dog. I'm not told you. I'm gonna read the chat real quick. I believe it's wrong. Kathy would not let me do the shopping, probably because she didn't want to hear me complain. We get a raise, though the cut-off amount does not increase. Yeah, so it can't go but so far. And honestly, it's probably still not enough, man. For extra help, yeah. And see, the thing is we do have people, like, there's, if you can't work, you can't work. And that's what these systems are in place for. And this is what I was talking about in my EBT video. It's like, because when everybody's arguing about the EBT, I'm like, well, dude, yes, it's abused. That's a problem, and yes, that should be addressed. I think multiple. Here comes again. This is where memes attack the idea that multiple things could be true at once. You can't see that in a meme because it's just this black and white thing that makes you have a meme of like a dude that's like a bodybuilder on food stamps or whatever, right? And it's like that guy's able-bodied, obviously doesn't need that. That's the meme. That can be the case at the same time as other people actually do need it. At the same time as the government might be wanting to put that bodybuilder on that food stamps and getting people dependent because it's part of their broader, bigger plan. We talked the other day about food banks and churches. A lot of food banks and churches are going to be where people really get their help from. And that's what it used to be. I have a 5 o'clock meeting. 2 guardsmen were pew-pewed and deleted here. I have a minute or 2 left. Man, really? When you say here, what do you mean where? If you have time, Cope Dog. I see the question mark on that Thomas Sowell. I will look that up though, because yeah, that individual definitely good reads. I will look into that as well. Yes, food banks are a big help. Absolutely, Dan. And that's what I'm saying. So a lot of times that kind of stuff in DC. Wow. Are you serious? Is this something that's going to be seen? This is going to be on the news then, huh? Right now? I'm not going to ask how you found out about that, Cope Dog. I love how my channel is very young and we still have already have great people here. Good first live. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here for you guys, actually. And I appreciate it. The fact that you would spend a couple hours with me on the day before Thanksgiving means a lot. And I'll be back. I'll do more lives. Keep up with the videos if you would. And then we'll see what we have going on. But definitely take care and be safe out there. And I guess it's what you're talking about sounds like we're probably gonna freaking see it on the news, right? So. That's terrible. I'll look that up in a minute here. But yes, have a great day, man. And I am going to wrap it up in a little bit here because we've been going for 2 hours and 30 minutes, guys. I've been running my mouth for 2 hours and 30 minutes. So, I said on another live the other day, this is what news anchors need to do. Because if a news anchor runs his mouth for 2 hours and 30 minutes, he's not going to be able to continue to spew the BS. Most people can't do that. And so the truth will come out. Truth come out, right? We started talking about faith, right? And you saw the truth. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I'm gonna tell you how it is for me, right? And so we talked about it, how we believe, how I believe. You may believe different. That's okay. I'm not here to spin narratives for you. I care about my followers. I wouldn't create a channel that would get subscribers to try to then go and BS them. That's crazy, but this is what the news does. Ask Susan, she's not here anymore, but 25 years in that business, I can only imagine. I don't even know how I could do that. It's hard for me to even When I've had regular jobs, it was hard enough with all the bureaucracy and stuff. Food banks are a problem in some aspects as it allows the government to ignore a major issue caused by the needs. Well, that's true, Fever Dream, but then at the same time, the government's not going to solve the problem half the time. And you see things like with this, if they'd have kept this government shutdown going for long enough, it would only been food banks and churches there. So, I mean, at the same time, it's like, it's tough, right? At a certain point, I'm okay if we get together and help. And I'm looking at this in my local area too right now, from multiple different angles, because I believe we should be more subsistent and less subsistent on the government. But yes, absolutely, the government, it's like, yeah, we're doing all the work out here, guys, right? Like, come on, guys, listen, pay attention. But they won't, because they don't care. That's what I was saying in the EBT video. They don't care. They're just using it as they want you to be dependent on them, but they don't mind if the food banks take the slack up, if the churches take the slack up as the time goes on, it's cheaper on them. It still makes people dependent. And when the time comes, we're going to find out why the government wants that. And that's why, dude, I would like to get there. I'm not financially way up there myself. I'm working every day for these dollars to get this money and to get this food for my family, right? So I understand it. And it's tough. I'm able-bodied, though, so I'm going to do everything I can, right? And like I said, I'm looking for ways to even be part of the, local thing here, whatever, help people out. But, you're right. Definitely, when people pick up the slack, the government probably takes the credit even. Isn't that crazy? So, great points today, guys. Great input in the chat. I'm really glad I did this live because you guys showed up for me. So I'm going to continue to show up for you. Appreciate you guys being here. This was it was eye-opening. I have enough people that are actually watching this channel, paying attention, and we'll do more of these. We'll do more of these in the future, but don't look for it like every day or anything like that right now. I'm running the other channel. I'm working every day, of course. I'm most of the time dashing. I need to be working now. When I turn this off, I'm going to be working, right? So for the rest of the day, because tomorrow I'm off for Thanksgiving. We're going to, I'm not off. I make my own schedule. I end up still working every day. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to get off. Oh, you can make your own schedule. You can do this. Yeah, I can either work all the time or just work all the time by choice. Like work all the time because it's scheduled, or I can work all the time because that's what I got to do to pay the bills. It's reality, guys. Just know that I'm in touch with it out there. I understand it. And I would love to, and I'm working to try to have more abundance, right? I would love to do that, but it's not something that happens easy. And but I'm not against having abundance. I'd love it to be the case. It'd be great. But I understand it. And I think when we're talking about God putting us in situations, it's probably by design. It's probably on purpose that we struggle sometimes, right? Puts us in a position where we can understand where everybody's at. And when I'm in a position to help, it's going to be game on. And you guys might even be able to be a part of that in the future. Who knows where we're going to go, right? So I appreciate everybody being here. I am going to end the live stream here. I think it was a good live stream for you. You guys did great. I just ran my mouth, you know what I mean? And I probably do that too much. So it's time to shut up and go to work. But Bulldogs, Fever Dream Animation, Dan, Cope Dog, I think you're already gone. Dealing with stuff. I'm going to look into that. Guys, I guess look into that. We're probably going to see it on the news. Maybe it's already on the news, if that's really what's going on. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Bulldogs. Thank you, Dan, Fever Dream, everybody. You guys are great. I appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and end it now, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out.